Yes, I am recording. I'm a little bit concerned with the feed. It seems like there's some delay, but should we just give it a shot?
No, I think we should just give it a shot.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
What do you mean?
I said, do you think we should give it a shot? And then I said, no, I think we should just give it a shot.
Oh, like is that like a what? I can't hear you type of joke.
No, it's not that type of joke, Sam. Not at all. Not even close. Anyway, let's move on.
Cross me up! Don't snap, don't breathe, just to leave me of this skin. And baby begin!
Welcome to Phone Wall Keys, David Ortiz, everybody. We have
This is a radio show that my brother Max and me, Sam, have with each other. At one point, it was a communist freak child of Car Talk and AM Boston Sports Radio, but we have taken many detours in the many seasons that our radio show has gone out to you, the general public. And I think we are going to attempt to revive this podcast. It had, Max, we've been busy, haven't we?
Look, I don't want to talk about how busy we've been. I want to talk about sports. I also want to talk about seasons really quick because, as you know, it's been really bothering me how fast and loose you play with, like, season whatever. But when you think about a season as, like, something that there's 4 of in a year, like winter, spring, summer, or fall, then we've had many seasons of Phone Wall Keys, David Ortiz. I don't have a problem with it. We have had several 3-month spurts of this radio show. I love it.
I'm glad that you have finally come around to or like have figured out how to deal with the whatever weird conflict you were having internally with my seasons.
What season do you think this is, brother, of our 2-year-old radio show?
What's confusing is that we didn't finish season 4, but I do feel like we should turn the chapter and start season 5 anyway. And 4 will just remain kind of unfinished. Sorry about 4. But yeah, let's call this episode 1 of season 5. Phone Wallet Keys, David Ortiz.
Fall 2020, that season.
Do people know that there is a hand gesture that goes along with the title of our radio program?
You mean because the padding of the various pockets and then pointing skyward like David Ortiz?
Yeah, so David Ortiz was a Boston Red Sox folk hero when we were growing up, and whenever he would hit a home run, he would like pound his chest, kiss his hands, and point to the sky in this really iconic way. And so when we would say Phone Wallet Keys David Ortiz growing up, we would hit right hip phone, back left wallet, left hip keys, chest David Ortiz up in the sky. Like it's like a boom, 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 boom.
It's sick.
Is that descriptive enough, the audio alone? I just did the gesture, but I realized no one could see it. I just hope that if you're listening to this and you've been a fan of this radio show, I hope that from now on, when you talk about it with all of your friends and loved ones, that you actually go through the motions of the phone, wallet, keys, David Ortiz.
You have to look up. David Ortiz would would look directly at God himself, and the clouds would frequently part for him. You know what I mean? It's not just like the final part of the gesture is you are looking exactly where you're pointing.
Chest, you pound your heart, and then you look up, and as you point to the heavens.
Yeah, you look exactly. It's important to you're not just like, you don't maintain eye contact with the person the whole time that you're doing it with. By the end, you both are looking where you're pointing.
You also don't even need another person. This can be a very solitary gesture.
I do it by myself all the time.
So anyway, now that we've shared that little bit of secret
for
you,
can we set the stage
5.
for them, Sam? I mean, like maybe we can do some life updates or later in the episode. But right now, the Celtics are in Orlando. They have they're riding a 6-game playoff winning streak. They're up 2-0 in their Eastern Conference semis against Toronto.
Do people even like? I don't. Everyone knows, of course, that sports were shut down because of COVID, and then they have restarted recently. I don't know if everyone knows that. I think a lot of people probably do. And the NBA in particular picked up their season basically at the end, right in time for the playoffs to start. And everyone, all the players and everyone are in Disney World. They're in Orlando. They all live in this compound. They all stay in these hotels and they play all their games in Disney World in this compound that they can't leave. They call it the bubble. And so the players almost canceled the season with a strike because of more police violence against black people in America, but they didn't, or at least they had a. I want to talk about that for a second. There's a lot for us to talk about because yes, narrowly speaking, the Celtics are up 2-0 in the second round playoffs. After sweeping the Philadelphia 76ers, one of our rivals, we're now going up against Toronto, the defending champions, and we're looking fucking good as hell. So there's lots to talk about there. And
also the rest of the pathway to the finals is shaping up in our favor, which
it's kind of opening up right before our eyes. The Celtics actually have a chance to compete for the championship this year, and it's really fucking crazy. I was watching some games yesterday, and even though the Celtics weren't playing, I was just kind of trying to scout the competition a little bit. And dude, the announcers were talking, like the white announcer was talking about the riot in Tulsa, like 100 years ago or whatever, like when all these like white supremacists burned Black Wall Street, quote unquote Black Wall Street, to the ground and were killing people, like and this white announcer during the NBA game is like sitting there talking about how most people don't know about this.
Was it Stan Van Gundy?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Stan Van Gundy is a comrade. There is
but also this is the direct result of the pressure that the NBA players are putting on the whole production of the thing. They're just like they have exercised their collective bargaining, like the kind of leverage that they have, which I think we should talk about because it's not an infinite amount of leverage, but they have they're trying to figure out how much leverage they have and how much they can push this, because basically it all comes back to, if you recall in previous episodes or if you've been following the news, like there was some concern among a lot of NBA players, like if we start the season back up, is this going to detract attention away from the Black Lives Matter movement that's been gaining like national attention and has kind of been the focal point of everything. And so the NBA players have basically negotiated a way to make sure that while they're still playing, and that's extremely entertaining, like that they are centering the struggle for Black lives in America as part of the whole viewing experience. Black Lives Matter is written on the court. All of the jerseys have different kind of.
Well, Sam, can I jump in here, please?
Please.
So I think there's a couple of useful things we should like interventions to make right here. One is like what you were talking about, how the court and jerseys are, reflect Black Lives Matter messaging now. But that was a concession given to the players in response to the play, like 4 years ago, right? 4 years to the day of the NBA player strike was Kaepernick kneeling, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that's like very important context. And like they came in to Orlando with the right to write whatever they wanted on their jerseys and have Black Lives Matter on the court and the ability to kneel for the national anthem. Even before what happened in Wisconsin happened, do you remember what Jaylen Brown said about the national anthem?
Yeah, Jaylen Brown, the hero of our podcast, is basically had a press conference. I mean, he's had so many incredible press conferences, but he had this one where he was like, "Do you guys know about the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner?" Like this, he's like, the kneeling to this goes so far beyond how it's being portrayed. Like, listen to the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner, and you might understand why we can't kneel for this. And he really did an excellent job of distinguishing between like just like the thing that you have to do.
Brother, why don't you tell people
America.
what the third verse says in case they don't have it in front of them?
Well, you should look it up, but it's basically about slave, it like references slaves, the slaves of the person who wrote the song. Like it was written by a slaveholder, and slaves are kind of institutionalized even within the song, and not in a like, not in a. It's not like it's just like kind of there. It's like a detail of the song, but you're like, this is the world in which this song was created, and this is like this is enshrined in the song in a way, not the part that we sing for the national anthem, but it's in the song, and it's. I didn't know that. No one fucking knew that. No one knew that. But Jaylen Brown, like in his press conference, was like, "Yo, listen to the third."
And the way
song.
he
Like,
says, listen to the third verse rather than telling them what it says, so that all of these fucking white sports writers have to go home and Google that shit.
mm-hmm.
It turned out to be very effective. Like the players have been doing an excellent job bringing up Breonna Taylor, like redirecting all of the media attention to talking about murdered black people by cops.
Again, last night the announcer was just like, when are we gonna get justice for Breonna Taylor? Like it's like the announcers have no choice or something. There's now some sort of contractual obligation or some pressure on the announcers where they're just like, they'll show a close up of like, I think it was Chris Paul had Breonna Taylor's a picture of her on his shoes. And then they're just like, so they're talking about Breonna Taylor, and then they say, when are we going to get justice for Breonna Taylor? And I'm just like, I can't believe that we're watching. Like, contrast that to the fucking NFL or something. Like, it's just like, or even to what the NBA has been like in the past. There's no way that this kind of like, and I don't know what good it does. And I think that
right.
is something we should talk about.
And so then we see on the like leading up, we have been seeing these press conferences and this stuff on the court and on the jerseys. But when Jacob Blake is shot in the back 7 times by a police officer after dropping off presents for his neighbor and breaking up a fight on his birthday in front of his kids.
It was his birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I didn't know that. Then
Wisconsin starts. It stops being like I think like one thing that's really interesting, right, is like an understanding of when things stop being protest movements and when they start being rebellions, right? Like in Portland, it's definitely a rebellion. They're attacking police stations, courthouses, and like the patrolmen's benefit associate, like the police union buildings.
Who's they?
The citizens of Portland.
I don't know that I agree with the framing of that. And I think that that's a framing that like, Trump is eager to portray also.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I think Trump would agree with your assessment, and I'm not sure that I do.
That it's a rebellion?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It is a rebellion, and it's awesome.
Mean? What are they trying? You think that the people, like the citizens of Portland, are trying to overthrow the government of Oregon or the United States of America?
No, I think they're trying to change fundamentally what it's like to live in Portland.
Well, that
what do you think?
Like a rebellion to me.
Okay, what do you think it was when they burned the police station in Minnesota? Rebellion or protest?
No, here's the thing about all of this stuff is that it takes all of these movements take people with vastly different agendas and desires, and it brings them together in the streets, but it's hard to talk about a singular agenda because it's different for different people.
This is an anti-policing movement, and it's very clearly taking on uprising characteristics when they burn police buildings. And also when they do a general strike, which is what the NBA did their part in doing in response to the Jacob Blake shooting, led by the team from Wisconsin, the Milwaukee Bucks, who refused to take. And I think this is really important, right? Because writing Black Lives Matter on the basketball court and having ABC cameras show it is not a rebellion. It is a protest movement, and it's one that's probably been co-opted. But when those players refuse to play, that's very different. That's the equivalent, like marching writing Black Lives Matter on a street in DC and marching on it is the same as writing Black Lives Matter on your basketball jersey and your basketball court and then playing on it. But
Right.
when you're
It doesn't.
fighting
It does
cops outside the White House, when you're refusing to go to work, when you're engaged in like a general strike to bring the like economy and like that, you're now, it's now something really cool and really dangerous for the establishment and the established order, which
I
is
think you're
why
right. Yeah.
you
You're right
saw
about that.
so many established order people try and get the NBA players under control, including Barack Obama's intervention, which we should talk about.
Yeah, I think if you need any, if like I think that settles all disputes about what about basically how dangerous the strike was, and like the fact that Obama intervened and was like, you guys should probably go back to work and keep playing basketball, like tells you all you need to know about how dangerous that situation was and how like desperately the establishment wanted to. But like that's the thing, is because Obama and people of his ideology fundamentally want things to remain the same.
They want to make changes from within the system, and the people in the streets want to change the system.
But like Bernie Sanders also wants to make changes
Yes,
from within the system.
he's a liberal.
Yeah, but it's different because Obama's a liberal, and Obama and Bernie Sanders want to make change from within the system, but what that looks like to them is fundamentally different.
Right, but the
I also basically want to
Republican
make
versus
changes from
Democrat, the Republican versus Democrat difference is like minuscule. The capitalist anti-capitalist difference is relevant.
yeah.
Making changes from within the system isn't going to provide you with the tools. Like eventually, I think, right, like Leninists like Lenin and Samora in Mozambique and Sankara and leaders who made changes by replacing the government but keeping the institutions.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like the best option for the U.S. Like you
Right.
should still have a post office, right? A postal system. It should just be taken over by communists.
Yeah, and like the Bill of Rights should maybe still exist.
You can have guarantees of rights in systems, but I think that's a topic for another day, Sam. But the failures of liberalism and the Bill of Rights to protect people in this country, I think, is about 300 years old.
No, that's true. I mean, it's we do need to start again with a new country that will actually center the idea of equality and try and fight for that, because we've never had that before, even though we've had
Equity.
pretensions of like
Everyone should have not just equality, not equal rights, equity.
Like, I don't understand what the distinction that you're making is. Equality, equal rights, like equal treatment, equal,
non-class
opportunity.
Structured. No more castes.
Yeah.
Like people, you can have a system of equal rights, but no equity, like what we have on paper in the U.S.
But
right
we
now.
don't have a system of equal rights.
Yes, we
that's
do.
What I'm saying is, no, we never have had that system. What are you talking about?
We don't, like, you're being obtuse right now. What is
know what
equity?
you're talking
Please
about.
look up equity in the fucking dictionary that you have on your fucking shelf right next to you right now. Look up what equity means.
No.
Okay, well then let's just change the subject. Everyone else at home can do this and then write my brother an email about what a fucking idiot he's being.
Why don't you just explain what you're saying instead of trying to make me go look in a dictionary right now? Just say what your idea is.
equity for like equal rights means everyone has the right to vote. But an equity of vote would mean that everyone's vote is counted. Equity means like everyone has the right to a house and no one has the right to like have there's no more right to be a billionaire in a system that values equity amongst its people rather than equality.
Well,
Right?
I don't know. Like, I guess it sounds to me that what you mean when you say equity is similar to what I mean by equality, and you think that we have equality right now, and I think we don't. But maybe we're
But
just
equal
like,
rights guaranteed under the Constitution has always been on paper, right?
well, not. I mean, the Constitution literally like institutionalized slavery, and obviously like it has
Your
been
Bill of
holding
Rights that
that.
you just advocated for keeping in the Constitution, like keeping in society, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Gives people equal protection, right?
It doesn't enshrine equality in the Bill of Rights. It really doesn't.
What does okay, I'm not going to read the Bill of Rights to you, but equal protection under the law, which is in fact enshrined within the Bill of Rights
It's in the preamble.
No, it's in multiple amendments, Sam, which is what the Bill of Rights is.
Right. I mean, well, which amendments?
The 14th, the 9th,
14th.
or the
14th
8th.
Amendment doesn't give it accounts for, as we know, it accounts for like prison labor. It accounts for slavery to continue.
Sam, there's also the equal protection clause of it. So just look at it.
What I'm saying is we like regardless of what paper what documents exist, we've never actually tried to have a country based on equality, even though the founders aspired to it and wrote lofty ideals about it. It never actually happened.
And we're not going to until we start taking rich people's stuff, and we're not going to be able to do that until we get rid of the police.
Yeah, well, but I also think that we can get rid of the police and get rid of the rich people's stuff within the framework of the Constitution.
We take the rich people's stuff and we get rid of the police.
Yeah, I think that we can do that constitutionally.
Why do you think we can do that constitutionally? Have you, as a student of history, hasn't the police been deployed for 100 years in an effort to break like all radicalist, incipient radical movements?
Yes.
From trade unions to civil rights, like every time. It wasn't until 1964 that cops were forced to guarantee the vote for every American, right?
Yeah. Again, not every American, not felons, but for black people.
Yeah, and then they just started assassinating. FBI started assassinating black leaders. So
yes,
it feels
all of this kind of leads us back to the Celtics being up 2-0 in the second round playoff series against the Raptors right now,
and seeming like they have their best chance to win a title. I don't know if that's true. If Jason Tatum is as good as Kobe Bryant, then this isn't our best chance to win a title. But the thinking of that this time in the bubble being our best chance to win the title is this. Let me break it down for you really quick.
Okay.
The bubble provides no home court advantage. So teams with
there's no crowd.
Teams who had a really good regular season and who were able to sustain their excellence all year long have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, like the Bucks and the Raptors. Who are the top two seeds should theoretically have home court advantage, but they don't, and they're both down 0-2.
Right. And the teams that would ordinarily have to have a really unpleasant flight from one side of the country to another during these playoff games now don't have to do that.
Well, all like that presumably is a wash because all the players on both teams would have to take the same flights.
For sure, except for staying in at home versus staying in the hotel, et cetera, et cetera. But let's just break down what happened in the last Celtics game in the fourth quarter. A game that I would like to remind my dear listeners, if we were playing in any other circumstance, would be held in Toronto, which is one of the hardest, most rowdy arenas to play in. And in the fourth quarter of the last game, Marcus Smart, when we were down by 10 points, scored 16 straight points on 5 consecutive 3-pointers. That was just like completely like, what were how did you experience that, Sam? Because I was watching with my headphones next to my sleeping partner, who I was trying not to wake up, and couldn't really believe my eyes.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I mean, it's so Marcus Smart. Like, Marcus Smart would have taken those same 5 shots and bricked them, like, also, like, just as easily.
Driving us completely insane.
But I mean, also then making up for it with some like miraculous play on the defensive end or some like. I mean, it's just like the fact that those all dropped though means that the like our title window is open. It's just like the path before us is open. Like Marcus Smart's heat check threes are falling. He's hitting 5 in a row, including a 4-point play to finish it and to put us up for good in the fourth quarter. Like, this is the kind of things that we would need to happen in order to win the championship, and now they're happening. Jason Tatum has ascended to the elite superstar level, like to the point where I'm not sure how many players, like I think that there are probably still 5 players better than him in the playoffs, but
which
definitely
5?
Not 10. Well, I mean, presumably Giannis, even though he's not showing it so far in this series. I mean, so far 2 games into our respective series, I think Tatum has played much better than Giannis has. But no, Giannis is better. LeBron is better. I mean, Giannis is the only player in the East who is better than Jason Tatum, and it seems like Giannis
Jimmy Butler
make it out of.
So Jimmy Butler is beating Giannis 2-0. Is he better than Tatum?
He dropped 40 points in the first game, and then he dropped 10 in the second, or 12 or something.
Yeah, they weren't. He wasn't very good.
I watched that game, and I was just like, Jimmy Butler is kind of hilarious because he's like psychotically confident. Like, I don't know, even like know other people in any like actors or like movie stars or rock stars, anyone else who is as psychotically confident as Jimmy Butler. It's scary to see, but he's not actually that good. Like here's the thing, he's so psychotically confident that if Jaylen Brown was guarding him, I would be a little bit worried. I love Jaylen Brown, and I think that he's very like, I think he's capable of standing up to bullies, but like Jimmy Butler is just so psychotically overconfident that that matchup worries me. But you know who we have that could match that intensity? The same guy who hit 5 3-pointers in a row. Like Marcus Smart is not afraid of Jimmy Butler.
Marcus Smart is not afraid of Jimmy Butler. And Marcus Smart is a little bit too short to fully contain Giannis.
But he's definitely big enough to
He's definitely big enough to handle. I hope the Heat continue beating the Bucks. I really do. But I just want to like tell you that Anthony Davis is better than Jason Tatum right now.
Yeah, it's basically this.
LeBron is better, and Kawhi is better,
Anthony Davis,
and
and Kawhi. That's it. So we have a top 5 player in the playoffs, which is what you need to win a championship.
And he's 21 years old, and if he wins the like, he did get like this crazy technical foul when we were up by 3, and he had this great move, which like it was a Kawhi Leonard like move that he got called for an offensive foul push off. And so he's still not getting superstar calls because Kawhi wouldn't have gotten that call, and neither would have LeBron. But he then like said, "Get the fuck out of here," silently with his hand. You know, he did the like "Get the fuck out of here" hand. The hand flip, and he got a technical with less than a minute left. So
the ref just happened to be right. Like he turned around being like, "Oh, give me a fucking break." And as he turned around, there happened to be a ref right in his face that he was like, so it was just kind of like an unfortunate time. Like, I mean, that ref obviously shouldn't have called that technical, but to be fair, like the ref just like was standing there. Jason Tatum got called for an offensive foul, and the next thing the ref knew, Jason Tatum was in his face screaming, and it was an accident basically. But like whatever. Jason Tatum got like 14 free throws. Like, that's superstar treatment. That's the thing about that game where I watched it and I was just like, this is what the best players in the league do. This is what James Harden does. Like, it's just like you'll get 15 free throws even if you're not just like dominating with step back threes, although he had a couple. Like, if you're getting to the line 15 times a game and making all of them, then it's just like
you're wrecking the game. You're wrecking the game. Yeah.
No. It's just like
you're wrecking the other team's game plan.
Right. And because the thing is that Toronto is selling out to stop Tatum's 3-point step back. His like really, really lethal 3-point step back. They're throwing double teams at him. And his response is to take it to the fucking hoop, to drive, which is like in the past, like even in the beginning of this season, is something that he was not always that inclined to do. Like, I think that like if his 3-point shot wasn't falling, he might tended to disappear sometimes. But the fact that in this pivotal game too, where Toronto really came out supercharged to try and even the series, like after we had embarrassed them, they're like, no, we're the defending champs and we're really good. We're an intense defensive team. I like this team a lot, Toronto. Like, Kyle Lowry is really cool. He's like their own little Marcus Smart kind of. But like Tatum was just like they sold out to take away his strengths, and instead of disappearing, he was just like, I'm gonna get to the line 15 times. And that's just like, oh, they're in trouble. They don't have, like, because their best player, Pascal Siakam, cannot do that. And so, and I also just want to say this, Kyle Lowry, probably the second or third best player on the championship team last year, right? Like, obviously Kawhi was the best. And then you had, but Kyle Lowry, like, arguably the second best, or at least third best.
100%, he's the second best. He was the second best player on the championship team.
He, like, Marcus Smart is our fourth best player, and Marcus Smart is as good as Kyle Lowry, if not better in a lot of ways. Like, obviously, maybe not quite the offensive threat, although I'm sure he's outscoring him.
He's not facilitating the offense the way Marcus Smart can't facilitate the way Lowry can, but we don't need him to. We don't need him to.
That's what I'm saying.
Sam,
like,
what's wild to me
5
is that in this series where Gordon Hayward, our max player, is still not playing again, our last 3 draft picks, our high draft picks, our 3 number 3s, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, plus 1 big signing, Kemba Walker, is decimating the defending champions.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean,
all 3 of those picks
we'll
look
need
good.
Gordon Hayward. To win a championship, we're going to need Gordon Hayward, because we still have Semi Ojeleye playing like 15 like vomit-inducing minutes.
That's really bad. Though he did hit a 3 in the first game.
Wait,
that
did
happened.
You see this? In the second game, he bricked 3 threes in a row. I don't even know what the fuck was happening. Like, for some reason, they ran the offense through Marcus Smart, or like Brad Wanamaker and Semi Ojeleye tried to run a 2-man game when we still had Jason Tatum on the court. Like, it was so frustrating to watch Semi brick 3 after 3. I'm done with Semi. He's just like, I'd rather all of his minutes go to Grant Williams.
I think I agree with that.
Still, like, Grant Williams might develop a 3-point shot one day, and like Semi, it's just, it hasn't happened yet. It's probably not going to happen. But
okay. Robert Williams, have you seen, like, Robert Williams is so good. He also got a watch sponsorship.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool?
Because yeah.
Can you explain to me, like, what is Weird Celtics Twitter really just like one guy who made some really good jokes, and then like 200 other people who are like primed for it?
No. I think it's
How did it happen? How does it organize itself? It's definitely organized around 4 main jokesters, one of whom came up with the Time Lord, and now everyone in America is hearing it.
Yeah, Weird Celtics Twitter. I think we've discussed it before. It's like, right, it is like kind of like these 4 or 5. They must just be like disassociated stoners or something. All their jokes are like kind of, it's like, it's not like slapstick humor. They're all kind of like, it's like they're all like slightly psychedelic. But, and then I think that there's like, but yeah, it's like this weird like Twitter thing where there's like 12 people who are really engaging in it, and then another 2 or 3,000 people that are like, hovering around it and kind of like,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Anyway, Robert Williams,
Their politics
the Time
are
Lord.
lefty too. Weird.
Yeah,
Celtics Twitter.
that's very nice. Celtics Twitter is full of commies, and Patriots Twitter is full of fash, and it's like it's never been more stark.
Yeah.
But Robert Williams, the reason I bring up Weird Celtics Twitter's name for him is because it's gotten him a national sponsorship for watches along with his play in this series, which I would argue has been nothing short of supernatural. He's missed maybe one shot. He hit a 20-footer. He sucked out Marc Gasol to the free throw line, took 2 steps back and drained it. That was insane. That was a heat check moment too.
Yeah, it was a heat check moment. But look, I mean, Robert Williams, it still is all over the fucking place. Like, he cannot figure out
enough
he's
pick.
just like, yeah, or just like positioning. I mean, but he's just so athletically gifted that he actually has the chance to make an impact. He can still impact games now, even though he's like kind of has this energy of like running around with a chicken with his head cut off. But I think that because Gordon Hayward's out and we kind of are desperate for a reliable seventh guy, or maybe is it sixth? Is he our sixth guy right now?
He's our first guy off the bench.
Yeah, and you know what? Watching Miami yesterday, I was just like, who do we have that it can run with Bam Adebayo? And I'm just like, I guess it's Robert Williams. Like, I mean, I think whatever. Like we have some guys that can throw it. I was like thinking about matchups, and it was just like maybe Robert Williams.
Who is Bam Adebayo? I don't know that guy. Is he really tall?
Yeah, he's like the tall, probably maybe the second best player on Miami, or maybe third. Like they
after
kind of
Goran.
Like Miami. Yeah, exactly. They have a really good point guard, and then they have Jimmy Butler at the wing, and then Bam is their kind of. I think he plays center, but he's a little bit like a Pascal Siakam, but he's better. He can shoot better, and he can he has more. He's not less one dimensional in the paint. But so Robert, I mean, Miami also has Jay Crowder and fucking Kelly Olynyk.
That scares the shit out of me.
I used to fucking hate, but they somehow are still.
Jay Crowder scares the shit out of me because
I fucking hated him when he was on our team,
and he hates us. He always comes into Boston and deliberately fucks us up or injures our best players. Speaking of which, would you be worried in the event that we beat the Raptors and then beat the Heat and then play the Clippers,
Bucks or whatever? Yeah.
Would you be worried about facing toxic masculine energy Marcus Morris? Would he try and hurt Jason Tatum?
No, because Jason Tatum was his little mentor guy last year. Unfortunately for Jason Tatum,
he would try and hurt Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart.
Yes, he would try and hurt Jaylen Brown because he didn't like Jaylen Brown.
He didn't like Jaylen Brown.
That would be intense.
I'm scared of Marcus Morris too because I think he would try and hurt Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, that's the one thing that scares me. I mean, as a basketball player, I think the more the ball's in his hands, the happier I would be if I was playing the Clippers.
Right.
So do you think that the players could have said, we're not going to play basketball again until you arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor?
Yeah, but that wouldn't have happened unless everyone else stopped working too. But listen, all it would have taken, right, is the players saying this and then the flight attendants being like, yeah, we're not going to work any flights until you arrest the cops that arrest Breonna Taylor. And then if the Teamsters said we're not going to drive any trucks, that would be that. But they wouldn't stay at that point. They would really not stop at arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor, right?
Yeah. How? I mean, so that's really fascinating.
It's interesting that they keep making their billionaire owners give money, which I like because that's an equity thing, right? That's taking money from billionaires and giving it to poor people. We
Yeah,
hope.
I guess.
We hope. We hope it's paying the salaries of young black organizers.
Yeah.
Right? But we need that on a mass scale. And the players like being like, you need to like, they should have been like, you guys have to start paying your fair share of taxes. Like,
we're not going to play.
we're not going to
anymore
play until you start paying. Like, you're all billionaires. You should pay millions in taxes.
Yeah, but the players are all millionaires, and they should pay like hundreds of thousands in taxes too.
Right. But the world isn't a problem because millionaires aren't paying their fair share of taxes. The world is a problem because billionaires aren't.
Yeah,
And
I think you're right.
Like, and I believe that. I think millionaires are the easy scapegoat because like everyone knows one.
Right, and there's like self-made millionaires, but there are no self-made billionaires. There's this like intoxicated like fantasy that people have where they could be a millionaire one day, and like, but I remember that when I was like making calls for Bernie during the primary, and I was like talking to someone in Michigan. We might have covered this on an earlier episode, but like it was like
That was seasons
I was
ago,
like-
and the leaves have changed.
yeah, I was just like trying to talk to this guy about how like we should make billionaires pay for our society, and he was like, well, like that's just penalizing like hard work. Like, what if I'm like, I want to be a billionaire someday and I don't want to have to pay for everything? And I was just like, dude, you're not going to be a billionaire. That's never, ever going to happen. He didn't know that. He really didn't know that. He thought that it was possible. And he actually, I mean, that guy was probably a big fucking idiot who will never be a millionaire either, but it's certainly theoretically possible that he could become a millionaire.
What about
And it is-
like the Jordan, who is a billionaire, a self-made billionaire, he would say, would need to be smacked in the face for asserting that and introduced to the workers who sew the stitches in
Nike
his
shoes,
sneakers.
yeah.
I agree with your analysis.
Besides Barack Obama, the other main fucking guy that was really instrumental in making sure that the strike didn't go on was Jordan. It was basically like Michael Jordan and Barack Obama teamed up to like basically like, I think that also LeBron, and there's certain like in the NBA, there's basically there's two levels. There's like the old guard, the LeBrons who are already kind of eyeing the next stage, and then there's the Jaylen Browns who are just like, yo, like this country is founded on systemic white supremacy and we need to disrupt that in every way possible. And I think LeBron was just like, is super powerful within the NBA still, and was just like, dude, I got Obama on the line and Michael Jordan's behind me, like
fuck you,
agreeing with what we're saying. Like, and I think that was still enough to basically win out in terms of like how to proceed from there. But like, I know that Jaylen Brown was like,
there's real tension
complicated.
between LeBron James, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown. They had a huge screaming like fight where Jaylen Brown said that thing about, are you guys just going to go home to your comfortable ass houses and hang out with your families, or are you going to go to the front lines? And LeBron screamed at him and pulled rank, and Marcus Smart said, that's fucking bullshit. And like, there's so much to love about the Celtics team, but the fact that they like first Jaylen Brown is like, what the Bucks did is heroic, and I reject all of your criticisms, LeBron, of them for not telling you beforehand. And
Right.
Jaylen Brown's correct about that. Like they all walked out a more like cohesive unit, and they still haven't lost. They're
The
playing
Celtics,
so well together. They were all on Team USA together. Kemba, Marcus, Jalen, and Jason have been playing together for a year now.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That's really cool. All right, let's put a fucking pin in the sports talk for a little bit. We're at the 45-minute mark.
Do you remember how a portion of this year, I was thinking about how a portion of this year was spent for you like learning extensively about organic wines and going to organic wine festivals in different countries and like thinking about like how to talk to organic wines in different ways. And now you probably don't do that at all.
Yeah, I haven't done that in 6 months, and like people still like some friends are like still like, hey, like why don't you go pick the wine or you go talk to the person like at the wine store and you get us some good wines or something, and I just like go to the wine store person and I'm like, is this
I
one
brought
good?
you to an organic wine bar in London and you didn't even notice. Like, wait, all of these wines are raw? Huh. Okay. Yeah, we'll just we'll get a pink one.
Yeah. I might. Yeah. I don't know.
Some skills you pick up,
event.
you end up losing right away because they're useless.
Yeah, I mean, I like wine so much still. I still like wine. It's still, like, it was cool. I had some moment. I mean, always my interest in it was a little bit different than my colleagues and, like, was kind of certainly expressed in different terms. And, yeah, and I think that even the stuff itself was different that was drawing me into that world. So I don't know. I was never actually going to make it there. But now I'm reinventing myself as a screenplay writer. I'm working on my Isabella Stewart Gardner biopic.
See, that should have been a whole
Workshop
fucking
next
topic of this
episode.
podcast.
So give me a kiss, baby, I'm an anarchist.
I do want to talk about it anyway. I need to workshop it with you. You're the best person to talk about it. I have some good ideas. It's a great movie. It basically takes place. I'll just say this really briefly, just in case someone else like.
I have to go. Just finish with me off the phone.
Don't press, don't break your ankle or clench your fist.
All right, love you. Bye, everybody.
I
Bye,
made
Samson.
it.